Hello, chess lovers. We are here. The first game has been played. It was a terrible game, let me tell you. I almost lost the game. My opponent played really well, and I believe that I didn't play very convincingly. But let's see what happened in the end. So, as you can see, we play against Mad Bondi with around 1500 rating. I was white and I started with d4, d5, bishop f4 as promised, the London system. And he went for e6, or she, I don't know, the gender of the opponent. Knight f3, knight f6, e3, bishop developed, and we have an exchange of bishops. And after c4, maybe not a typical London position. Uh, reminds me more of some Queen's Gambit positions, but I don't know. It's not a typical London position. So, interestingly, he took the pawn. And here, I decided to go for knight c3, maybe not the most precise, and he had the option to keep his extra pawn. After queen b4, defending here, attacking here, pinning here. Not easy to get that pawn back, and in the future he might support it with b5. I don't know if it's good, but that was an option. So probably I would have to reply queen d2 to prevent this kind of business. And I have some compensation, I believe. But interesting option. Anyway, he didn't do that. He went for a6, which is logical. He wants to advance and develop the bishop on a nice diagonal. So I took my chance and recaptured. And after b5, I really didn't know where to put this bishop. He can go here, here, or here. So I planned to maybe in the future oppose this guy on this diagonal. So I went to e2. Again, maybe a bit questionable. But after bishop b7, castles, rook c1, I'm trying to play against c5. I cannot really stop it, but for example, I stopped it now for just for a brief moment, because if he takes, he lines up into this kind of discovery. The knight is protected. So I knew that eventually he is going to push c5, but I tried to stop it for now, and maybe I was hoping that I will stop it completely somehow. But good move, knight d7, giving support to that square, and eventually he's just going to play it. Queen c2, don't know, probably not the best square for the queen, but I couldn't find um, the right spot. Let's see, rook ac8, so he played with deep understanding. Instead of, his idea is to push c5, but he prepares it like Capablanca. He really prepares it well. He doesn't rush. I really like his moves. So I put the rook here. I maybe discouraging him from c5 for one more move, maybe not, but he just tucked his queen back, and now I don't think how I can stop c5. And now I wanted my queen here so that I can push e4. So for that purpose, I decided to allow him to capture, which was a bad idea. He could have just gotten some advantage like this, because I do keep the bishop, but I don't know. There is no attack, and after c5, I will not have a big center either. So it's tricky. It's tricky. I think he's better here. Also, the computer confirms. But okay, after bishop d3, he decided to immediately play c5, and now I managed to put my queen here. Although here he had another option. He could have taken, and taken, and now I have to play with an isolated pawn. Also not pleasant, but he has some holes, sorry, and for the moment that pawn is not in danger. So I think it's balanced position, this one. Maybe he's better, but nothing really to be too happy about for me either. But he chose this move. And with this move, now I remove my knight from f3. So I think now we are equal. And here comes my first blunder. Of course, I need to worry about this knight, and that's why bishop c2 was a prudent move to keep this option in case of b4. But I neglected that, and I put my bishop on b1, and as soon as I put it there, I realized, oh my god, if he plays b4, this knight has no squares. It doesn't have any squares to go to. So this would be just winning. So I was lucky for the first time here because he didn't see it. He played knight to e4. And now I think we are about equal. After this exchange, maybe I'm even better. So here I played an automatic move. Of course I saw that I played f3. Of course I saw that I could go knight c6, and you want to have a knight there. That's usually some advantage, but I didn't see how to proceed after queen b7. I thought, okay, my knight is hanging, and if I want to defend it, I need to put the queen behind the knight and into a pin. But actually this was good. This was good because I'm attacking this knight, so he has to waste the tempo, and I have time for this move. And now it's obvious that he can never capture this knight. Now let's say he tries that. Knight rook c7, and let's say I play a nothing move, just like this. He cannot double up here. If he does that, there is a discovered check and problem. Yeah, and he can get a queen for 2 rooks, but that's just bad. Actually, he cannot because of the back rank, so that's just bad. And what else? He cannot remove the king to avoid that check because the rook is hanging. And let's say he plays some active move. Let's say a5. I can just take it because I'm attacking here. So if he takes, I take. That's just an extra pawn, probably soon to be 2. So knight c6 was the way to go, but I didn't see. I was scared of the pin, so I decided not to go into that. So I played an automatic move, f3. Once I realized that knight c6 is not clear to me wrongly, I played f3 with the idea to limit this knight. And that's what I did after knight f6, e4. This is kind of a typical technique. So I have this pawn that is well protected, and the knight it has no active squares. So it would have to go something like this, but I can always limit him from there too. So that knight is a problem piece maybe for black. So he played queen b7, intending to do mass exchanges on the c file. I played queen f2, slightly mysterious, but I wanted to preempt any checks or pins on this diagonal. h6, knight b3. In some positions I might go here, but that never happened. After rook takes, rook c8, I played rook c5. And of course here I have nothing, but my hope was that maybe if he takes, I'll enter with my queen, and with slightly better position of my queen, hope for some chances, but honestly I don't think it's possible. But okay, he for some reason he went rook d8, and he wants to go here and win. Now I can go h3 or g3. I opted for g3 because the knight is protecting here, and I can always go back with the rook. It's playing with fire, I know, but I thought that there will be not much danger on the second rank. And I think I was correct, although it was very risky. Rook d1 check, king g2, queen d7. See, he controls the d file, but this is the important square, and he can't get there. Queen c2, with the threat of check. If it goes there, discover check, winning the piece. G6 stops that idea. Well played, so he realized what was the threat. And now rook c7. I invite him to offer a queen trade, which he did. And now I was happy, because after this move, I included first the check. And then I exchanged queens, and I thought now I'm gonna advance my king, and that's a weak pawn. And that knight is slightly stuck, while my knight has some nice ideas. So I thought I have some slight advantage here, and maybe I'll outplay him. But let's see. King f2. Now, first blunder on his part, the big blunder. He played rook d6, allowing e5, which I didn't see. I totally missed this, and I played my planned move, king e2. So that's the second blunder on my part. Big blunder. Because the first time I missed that he can trap my piece, and now I missed that I can win a piece. And he also did two blunders, allowing one losing possibility and missing one winning possibility. So now after knight d7 there is no such thing, and I played rook d8. I have a threat here because the knight is pinned, but he's in time to defend. And now I figured I made a mistake. I should have just removed my rook, maybe played it here, and kept on playing with rook and bishop on each side because of this weakness and maybe slightly more active pieces. But I went for the pawn endgame, and this pawn endgame is just a draw. There is no way forward. So we played some moves. There are many possibilities here, but it's tough to find any way to penetrate black's position. So I chose this approach, and of course I realized that here I cannot win unless he makes some really big mistake. And but I was playing. I was also sure that I cannot lose. So this is the first moment where he is starting to he's starting to allow some winning chances for me in case he plays a bad move. Because if he just wanted to draw, he could have put this pawn here. And then these two pawns control these two squares. There is no entry point. If I don't have time to go with my king like this. And he can also stop that if he wants. The reason I don't have time is because he can just choose what to pick up while I do that. So I can never, when he plays h5, I can never make any progress. Because here, we are blocked, right? And I mean, the king just stops my king, and my king stops his king. So if he wanted to make a draw, and I'm sure he realized that, but he was maybe trying to win the game. So he made a small imbalance, and of course, theoretically, there is a chance, if I go wrong, that he creates an outside pass pawn. But of course, I'm not going to let that happen. So after h4, for example, now, he has the option of sacrificing a pawn and creating an outside passer. But it doesn't work, because my king is there ready to stop that passer. And he played king d6, and I played king d4. Now my king looks like it's far, but actually it isn't. It's just close enough. So if he wanted, he could have just waited, and I cannot go for this pawn ever, because then my king is far and he can make this breakthrough, create an outside passer, and just win the game. But what he did is he did that now. I mean, he couldn't do it as long as my king is watching that pawn. But maybe he didn't realize that I can come back, so he played the losing move. And here, undeservedly, I got into a winning position. I mean, I was in a bad position, then in a losing position, then it was equal. And now this is just, of course, this was easy for me because I have this backward move and I'm inside the square of a pawn, and that pawn will never promote, and the king can never capture any of these pawns. I mean, if he captures one, the other one goes forward to queen. So let's see. I played king f4. It doesn't matter. I could go here, here. It's the same. H3, king g3. And you see, when he attacks this guy, this one is always ready to run. Of course, I'm not going to push it until he captures. Or I'm just going to wait, capture his pawn, come back with my king. So that's that lost position. And he did capture, but now that pawn is unstoppable. And the rest I will not commentate. I'll just show it. It was not too hard. But what's the conclusion? So we started with a win, but we played terribly. By we, I mean me. So it was a terrible game. And on the other hand, our opponent, Mad Bondi, played a really nice game until the very end, where he overestimated his chances and made an elementary mistake. But opening was played very well on his part, better than what I did. And in the middle game, he also played well. Okay, he missed the chance to win my knight, but very nice play, Mad Bondi. You were a little bit unlucky at the end. And I'm not too proud of my play, but I'll try to improve on it in the future. Thank you for watching. See you again. Bye.